So basically, for something to be sacred, that means that it's of importance to somebody for spiritual reasons, right? So for religious reasons, for how it makes them feel inside emotionally, right? So sacred is special in a spiritual or religious way. So yeah, so Jerusalem being such an important place spiritually, it seems like that might promote an idea that people would be more peaceful about it. But as we might see in a little bit, when something's really important to somebody, it might inspire them to fight for it and try to get as much control of it as possible, right? So if, for example, like a toy or a device or something was very important to you on like such a high level, you might not be inclined to share it, right? So the idea here is that this place might have significance inside that's so deep and so high that you're willing to like hurt other people to get control of that place. So basically, the Byzantine emperor here is afraid that um, the culture that they had built up is under threat, that these Seljuk Turks are going to take over and sort of pave over all the accomplishments of the Byzantines and of Christians in that area. And also it says that they're treating Christians ill, right? So that there's this lack of tolerance that they're bringing with them for Christianity, and so they consider that a threat, right, in terms of both their religious beliefs and in terms of the culture that they've been trying to build up. They have maybe this new culture has different values and won't necessarily treasure Byzantine culture moving forward. And for an emperor, he's in control. If somebody's coming over and taking over, and then he loses control, right? He's no longer in power, and he might be under physical threat as well. His life might be in danger. So basically, the armies of Europe go out to Jerusalem to try to defend Christianity from what they considered this Muslim threat, right? And you know, it's more than just a perceived threat. It's these people are actually coming and bringing physical force to take over these lands, right? So people are scared. People are worried that the way of life out there is under threat and that their actual physical bodies are in danger. And so these people from way out in Western Europe are coming to try to help their Christian brothers and sisters try to live more peacefully. But as we said, this is the beginning of a 200-year back and forth between Christianity and Islam over this area. Right? Yeah, so the European Christians at that time during the Crusades were fighting Muslims, obviously, as we mentioned earlier, but this slide also mentions that they're fighting against Jews and Christian heretics, right? So we have Christian versus Christian as well, right? So and that's a matter of beliefs as well, right? So not all Christians believe the same thing. If your beliefs seem to be against what I think, and we disagree enough, we might fight and kill each other over it at that time. So in terms of the people fighting, it's Jews, Christians, Muslims, but it also says that it's fought in Europe and North Africa and the Middle East. So you've got people spread out all over this area as well, fighting each other. Yeah, so it's tough because we associate religion with peace and harmony and love and understanding, and these are generally not characteristics we associate with war and fighting and things like that. So to me, it doesn't really add up in terms of like what you traditionally think of about religion. However, if there's an idea that our way of life is being put under threat and that this other group might wipe out what we're all about, then people get drummed up, and a big way to get people inspired in those days, especially, was to make it a religious thing, right? Because religion was like the most important thing for a majority of people out there at that time, especially. So if we say that we need to fight this war because it's good for God and it's good for Jesus or it's good for Muhammad or whatever, then that's going to inspire more people to do it. But I think at the end of the day, my preference is like, let's try to figure out a way to settle these things without killing each other, right? But I think, especially historically, a lot of times that process got skipped, or that there were misunderstandings that made that not possible. But from my perspective, we should not be fighting wars in general, but especially not on the basis of religion as well, because our most religious people say that they believe in peace and love and harmony, and it doesn't add up to go kill people based on that. So basically, the Seljuk Turks were, a threat in terms of people's life, their property, their way of life, their culture. So people can see these guys rolling up, and they're scared, right? And when they do roll up, they're hurting people, right? So if you look, it says they treated Christians and their holy sites with intolerance. So they're literally they're making people's lives harder day to day, and they're also physically attacking the places of worship and things that they believe in, right? So they're causing problems for in terms of their survival as a culture and as human beings. So basically, these places are important to these groups because special things happened there in their religious histories. So for Muhammad, for the Muslims, Muhammad, according to the story, rose to heaven from there, right? They say he ascended to heaven on his night journey. And then Jesus, for Christians, was hung up on a cross, right? And then died there, and then came back to life as the belief, right? So, and then for Jews, this is the place where they consider this their historical capital, right, or the center of their culture, and almost like the promised land for them as well, right? So special for all three groups for different reasons, but they're all kind of related reasons, right? It's religious and cultural that ties them to this area, right? So you can clearly see the evidence here that it says under Muslim rule, Jews, Christians, and Muslims usually live together peacefully. And I think that goes back to what we were talking about, that the values of these religions emphasize peace and harmony and positive elements, right? And also, if you're just trying to live in a place and you know these people and these are your neighbors, then it comes with a certain level of understanding, right? So if these are your neighbors and you know what they really stand for, maybe you don't agree with them, but they're they're your neighbors, and at the end of the day, you're all citizens of this community together, right? That comes into be. There's a problem with that when you've got rulers or groups of people who want to treat people differently on the basis of religion or ethnicity or what language they speak, and that can make life difficult, if not impossible, for people living there. And that's something they mention here in this slide, is that some Muslim rulers allowed the destruction of important Christian churches, and some of them restricted the rights and freedoms of people based on their religion, right? So that becomes an issue of power and control, and people just trying to live their daily lives against an oppressive force pushing them down, But it says in general, they usually live together peacefully in that area.